Hi everyone, my name is Patty Plant and you can catch me on Grow Live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time or anytime at your convenience on the YouTube channel Grow. So thanks for joining me. Welcome to my home, my garden, and all my indoor grow spaces. So today the topic that we're going to cover is transplanting. So I don't know if you're doing any growing in your house right now, but I know that I'm growing quite a bit. In fact, I'll have to show you. This is what I'm doing today. So there's, I don't know, about 300 plants here. And it's a variety of different types of tomatoes, both hybrids and heirlooms. So those are tomatoes that I can keep the seed from. Also, cucamelons, which are tiny little cucumber-like things. I've got eggplant. I've got a lot of basil. So like I said, thanks for joining me. A little bit about transplanting before we get started. Important, I've got a tray ready here to go. This has about 130 cells in it. And I like to use trays like this because they take up less room. And at this time of year, less room is a good thing. So anyway, let's get right at it. To use a media that is not garden soil, soilless mix. So it's a mix mostly of peat moss, usually some perlite and vermiculite. It's nice and friable. It's good for plants. It doesn't have any fertilizer in it unless you buy a mix that has fertilizer included. So other than that, it is basically sterile as far as nutrition goes. I like to moisten the media with warm water because it moistens quite a bit easier. And when I'm transplanting, this is just a small little plastic bottle with a diffuser on top. And I like to use these type of things when I'm transplanting tiny things because they do less disturbance. So I don't know if you can see, it's got a slight blue color to it. There is a little bit of transplant fertilizer in that, which is basically a dilute solution, about 1/10 of a solution of high phosphorus fertilizer. And I have basically two fertilizers, 20-20-20 and 10-52-10 or 15-30-15, whatever I tend to have. You don't necessarily need specialized fertilizers for every single type of plants you have. So I like to be frugal or economical, however you want to say it, and have everything I need to grow successfully, but not go overboard and need a storage container for all the different specialty mixtures that I have. So what's in this container is basically Sunshine Mix. It's I think it's Sunshine 2, which doesn't have any extra things in it at all. Pro Mix is also a good alternative. And I like either of those mixes preferably because they come in big bales and they're fairly economical. However, any soilless mix you can buy wherever you are is a good choice. It just should be nice and light and friable because when you're growing things in containers, even for a short time, it's important to give them everything they need. So when it comes time to transplant, and I tell you folks, all I use for transplanting is a chopstick or basically a pencil that's not sharpened to a real fine point. That's all I use. When I fill these trays, I don't pack them. I basically fill them up and then just skim them off with a flat surface. A dustpan works well or anything like that. And then to transplant, I basically, I don't know if you can see this, I'll try to do it in front of the camera. I basically just make a little hole in the center of each cell and it allows me to pop the little root ball in with the least amount of disturbance. So this is mechanized as far as you can from a one-person standpoint. So as far as the seedlings go, in these trays, basically there's just holes in the bottom. So I basically use my pencil or a chopsticks and basically push up the plant material. If you're transplanting at the proper stage, and that's when the first true leaves appear, I often transplant sooner for a variety of reasons. But basically, that's a really good little transplant to transplant. So you've got a nice healthy top growth. This is a black Krim tomato, which is an heirloom tomato, which I like for the flavor. And of course, I always grow some hybrids, and I grow some heritage or some heirloom plants, especially with tomatoes, because depending on what kind of year we have, I want to be guaranteed a good crop. So on years that are not ideal for tomato growth is years that are cooler, maybe years that just aren't quite long enough, and quite often in those years it's the heritage crops that do better. So take one more look at that root ball. Notice that the soil or soilless mix or media is staying intact, and it's ready to basically just pop right into the flat. So you basically just pop it into the hole you made and gently firm the soil around the transplant. That's as technical as it needs to get. The sooner you get that plant into soil and, you know, don't allow those root tissues to dry out any. And I mean, before you know it, you've got a whole flat of plants ready to go. So when you get good at transplanting, it is something that doesn't take long. One of the things that you need to do at this stage, and I mean, I just want to show you this. Oh, we got a double header. So actually, it's a triple header. No, it isn't. It's just a double header with vigorous growth. So when you have this situation, you can either try to plant both and have agony for the whole growing season, or take your nippers and basically make that final decision for the week one and you have one left. Basically transplant it back into the cell as soon as possible, firm it up, and then once you're done, use your transplant solution and just water them in. Why is a transplant solution so important? Because that little bit of high phosphorus helps with the roots getting established, and it's something that's actually quite important from the perspective of the plant. So just a little bit of a review on fertilization. On your fertilizer containers, and I use a complete fertilizer, which means it has micronutrients as well as macronutrients. The three numbers on the fertilizer bag or container are the amount of percent nitrogen by weight is the first number, percent phosphorus by weight the second number, and potassium the third number. Phosphorus, which is the second number, very important for root growth. The first number is nitrogen, very important for green leafy growth, and the potassium is kind of like a stress fighter for plants. So using a transplant solution that's higher in the second number, which is phosphorus, just takes a little bit of the stress out of transplanting. And you know, even if you're the best transplanter in the world, sometimes it's still a stressful thing for the plants. So get them planted as soon as possible, get them watered in and back under those lights. I know that it's finally warm enough here to get some of the plants outside in the outdoor greenhouse. And that's kind of a nice thing because it's less work. And you know, in spite of providing everything a plant needs, we still don't do the same job as Mother Nature. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time. I'll leave this video up on this Facebook page, Orchid Horticulture, but it will also go on my YouTube channel, Grow. So at any time of the day or night, you'll be able to look up some wonderful things. I appreciate if you decide to, you know, frequent my channel and frequent this page, because I'm here to share information as a horticulturist who has lots of experience. So thank you for joining me. Be safe, be happy, and folks, let's get growing. Thank you.